Our next lesson is called Writing the Equation of a Line, Day 2. So in the previous lesson, we wrote the equation for this graph below as y equals negative 1/3 x plus 4 2/3. This was the example. It says for this graph, we could not determine the exact value of the y-intercept. So if you recall that, because of this, we had to find the y-intercept algebraically. So we picked a point to use as x and y. We found our slope by counting between 2 points, and we used our slope for m, and we solved for b. So that's what it says there underneath. Substitute a coordinate in, the slope in, and solve for the y-intercept. However, there is another way that you can do this when we have a point and the slope. So our big idea starting today for this lesson is the point slope formula. And before we even write that formula, I want to make a little note here that this is on the reference sheet. So that's why we want to talk about this as a strategy, because if it's on the reference sheet and you can use this formula, this is a great way to get started, and then you can manipulate the formula from there, and I'll show you what I mean. So point slope formula is used to write the equation of the line when given a point and the slope of the line. The formula for this is y minus, and then I'll change color just to show you where the coordinates go. This would be where y1 is equal to the slope, and then x minus, and then here, x1 is where the other part of the coordinate will go. So be sure to distribute and solve for y when you're done, because that will put it in y equals mx plus b form, or slope-intercept form. So let's take a look at some examples. We're going to find the equation of the line given the point and the slope. So remember that the point will give us the x1 and the y1, only x1 and y1 here because we only have 1 point. And the slope, remember, is the m. So you would write the formula first. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And then you would replace your values. Just be really careful of your signs. So the y and the minus are from the formula. Then in y1, I would put 4. The slope would put 1/2. Then from the formula, I have x and minus, and then I put the x1 value of 2. From here, I can simplify it and get it into mx plus b form, so slope-intercept form. So I will distribute the 1/2. I get y minus 4 equals 1/2 x minus 1. And then to get y by itself, I would add 4 to both sides. So that's y equals 1/2 x plus 3. And we have our equation. Let's look at a second example here. So the coordinate gives me my x1 and my y1, and remember my slope is m. I would write my formula, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and then I start to plug in my values. So remember, the y and the minus are from the formula. y1 is coming from my coordinate, and it's a -3. So put it in parentheses for your substitution so you don't lose that sign. Then for the slope, we've got -1, then x and minus from the formula, and then our x1 value was 4. So now we can start simplifying. This is really y plus 3 because of the double negatives. And then when I distribute the -1 through, I get -x and positive 4. And then to get y alone, we would have to subtract 3 from both sides. So y is equal to -x plus 1. And there's our equation. So point slope is nice with the formula on the reference sheet because you can just put the coordinates in their respective spots and then simplify. Now that was from a point and the slope. Our next big idea, what if you are given 2 points instead? So to write a linear equation given 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, you follow this process. We don't have the slope, so we're going to have to find it, which we've talked about in previous lessons. So the slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And once we find that slope, we can then use the point slope formula of y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1 to write the equation. So now we're going to look at a couple examples. We're going to find the equation of the line given the 2 points. So remember, I need the point and a slope for this formula. We already have the point because we can pick either point that we have in front of us, but we don't have the slope, so that's what we need to find first. So I'll label my points as x1, y1, x2, and y2, and then we will make the outline of our formula so that we have the signs and we don't make any mistakes there when we plug in. So in the y2 spot, I have -6. In the y1 spot, I should have -1. In the x2 spot, I have 4. In the x1 spot, I have 2. So watch out up there on top because you have double negatives, which is going to give you a positive. And now we can simplify our slope. -6 plus 1 would be 5. And then 4 take away 2 is 2. So you can leave that right as, -5. You can leave that right as -5 halves. Of course, you could write it as -2.5 as well. So now that we have the slope, we should be able to put everything into the point slope formula. So we'll have y minus, because that's from the formula. Our y1 value is a -1. So be careful of the sign there. Then we have equals our slope, which is -5 halves. And then in parentheses, x minus from the formula. And then our x1 value, which is 2. So then we can simplify. The double negatives there is going to make this y plus 1 equals. And then you're going to do -5 halves times x, which is -5 halves x. And then -5 halves times -2, which would be +5. So in order to get y by itself, we would subtract 1 from both sides. And we get y equals -5 halves x plus 4. And we have our equation. So let's do a second example. Once again, we have 2 points, so we need to find our slope. So x1, y1, x2, and y2. And we'll draw our outline for our formula. So then I'm going to plug in my values very carefully here. We know that for y2, we have 7. y1, we have -8. For x2, we have 2. And for x1, we have -3. So our double negatives here will change to positives. And so we end up with 7 plus 8, which is 15. 2 plus 3, which is 5, which gives us a slope of 3. So now that I have that, we can go ahead and fill in our point slope formula. So y minus, again from the formula, our y1 is a -8. Then our slope is 3. The x and the minus is from the formula. And then our x1 value is a -3. So when we simplify this, the double negative gives us y plus 8 equals 3 times x plus 3 with those double negatives. We'll distribute the 3. So we get y plus 8 equals 3x plus 9. And then we will move the 8 by subtracting it from both sides so that we can get y by itself. So y equals 3x plus 1. So in closure here, let's see if you can do this on your own. So I want to know what is an equation of the line that passes through the points 2, 7 and -1, 3. So take a minute to try this problem on your own, pause the video, and when you're done, resume the video to go over the answer. Okay, now that you had a chance to try it on your own, let's discuss the problem. You should have gotten number 4. Because it's 2 points, I have to find the slope using the slope formula. So I labeled my points x1, y1, x2, and y2. So it was 3 minus 7 and negative 1 minus 2, which gives us negative 4 over negative 3, or 4/3. Then I can use my point slope formula. You see I wrote that down. I replaced my y1 with 7, my slope with 4/3, and my x1 with 2, and then I picked the one in the multiple choice that matched. So now you know you can use the point slope formula, which is on your reference sheet, to help you write the equation of a line. And that concludes your lesson on writing the equation of a line, day 2.